Welcome back to the Bernard Lee Poker Show. We are doing our wrap-up of the 2021 WSOP. Talked about our stories in the last segment and all of the great things that happened about the WSOP, especially that it happened. But, of course, the big event is the main event. It was 6,650 players, 8 million for first, and so many stories. And it really got going a few weeks before the actual event happened, and there was a schedule change and everything. Robbie, help explain what I'm talking about.
Sure. So this was definitely a main event like no other. In years past, we've had, day 1A, B, C, D, but we've never had an E and F before. And World Series decided, okay, the US rescinded the travel ban, and it happened to work out, I think November 8th, that people from Europe, from the Far East could finally come and be admitted to the US. And World Series officials were like, well, we want to give them the chance, so let's add a day 1E and day 1F. Even while this got a little wonky, a day 2A was starting to happen, but people were just playing their day 1. So it was a funky scenario. And then you have the field at some point supposed to combine. So it's usually day 2A and C, and then B and D, right? But this was a day 2 A, B, D, and then C, E, F combined. So it was a little complex from that point of view. But again, this being a year like no other, hopefully will never happen again for these sorts of reasons. The World Series did the best they could, and I don't think there were any sort of complaints, to let more people in. Bigger is definitely better as far as the main event is concerned. So that was just, unusual. And also the fact is, you had because of this, you had a weird scenario of, if you want a late reg, you can decide to late reg for day 1E or F, or you can late reg straight on day 2, which was a weird scenario, but obviously with just, whatever it was, 20 big blinds. So a very unique kind of situation happened this year.
Yeah, it was more than 20 big blinds, though. I think it was
more. Okay.
I think it was like 60 or 70. I mean, it was a lot. It was a lot. I think you came back at like 400, 800 or something. Anyway, it was enough where you could really be like, am I really going to have much more than this?
Right.
I think it was a very interesting choice. I actually had some really deep conversations with certain people. I might have bought in right to day 2. I'll be honest with you. Right. I really might have, if I had the choice
yourself,
on the
10
same
hours
day.
of grinding.
It's it's not that. It's just more of like, okay, let's move on now. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, but then again, you have big day 1. It changes the whole out.
Sure.
Anyway, Chad, what's your thought about? Sorry, go ahead.
Can I point one other thing, just as far as
100%.
like one individual and not a player? He does play, but I have to highlight Jeff Platt, because that was something that was pretty cool about this year's coverage, that he literally went out into the field with the cameraman. Everyone, can you stand up for me, please? And that was just cool. It was just a cool new aspect of the coverage that, those of us who aren't, plunking down the 10K to play, you get these perspectives, and you literally see people, Pat Lyons in the middle of a hand, he'll just go all in blind. Like, that's actually real. And it was just a cool new wrinkle to add, and kudos to him. I think he said Norman Chad gave him the idea. So it was special to watch that as a fan.
And it's funny that you said that with regards to Norman Chad. I've said this to many people, is that this is exactly what Norman did. He didn't have a mic, that's all. And he didn't have a camera, but this is exactly what Norman did. Why I'm telling you this is, I'm saying this because I'm one of those people. In 2005, he came by and he talked to me like that. He just said, hey, what's going on? Like, what are the pictures, blah, 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 yada, yada, all this kind of stuff. And he would go around and find stories. That's how he found his story. So truly, it totally makes sense that he told Jeff to do it, because he did it. He literally did it. So totally makes sense. Yeah, but I agree. It was fun. A lot of people were like, I got my Jeff Platt interview. I'm all good. So it's funny. Chad, what about you? What's your thoughts about that stood out at the main as the event moved on?
Yeah, it was towards the end, actually. A couple storylines really stuck out to me. And one was the dirty diaper, as it was called. This was the deuce 3 hand that Nick Rigby, it was really fond of playing. He was a Pittsburgh guy. They had some sort of game like the deuce to 7 game, but with deuce 3 back in their Pittsburgh home game. And so he brought that to the WSOP, and it was wild. It was unconventional. It was, highly criticized by some people, but by others really admired, because this guy was just there having fun. And that's what poker was supposed to be about. And so to see him get a little frisky with that deuce 3 on more than one occasion certainly was entertaining and made for good TV, and really harken back to the days of the poker boom, where we've seen more players, taking risk and taking gambles and not being so robotic and playing GTO. And the other story that I really liked was that of the last woman standing in the main event, Dragana Lim. She ended up finishing in 64th place for $95,700. Obviously, the last woman standing in the main event every year is a story in itself, but this year it was really cool because she donated all of her winnings, all $95,700, to help create an animal foundation. As a guy who loves his dogs, and I think that was just a cool thing, a great cause, and she used that platform pretty well. And I even think there was somebody on social media that tried to hit, how can I get in contact with her to try to match that donation, which I think was pretty cool. And hopefully we'll see more of her at future World Series of Pokers.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a neat story, and really brought some attention to that, like you said. My story is something that, listen, it's not this gentleman. We're not having this podcast here, right? We're not having this conversation. This gentleman started it all 18 years ago, wasn't coming to the World Series. I talked to him prior to the series. I was talking to him during the series. And when he headed out, I wished him luck, saying, hey, maybe this is all about karma, right? He didn't go because even though the vaccine mandate was there, he still wasn't going because his kids couldn't get vaccinated. And so he was afraid that he would get it, bring it home, his kids who weren't vaccinated. But just as the series was coming to an end, kids were allowed to get vaccinated. And now all of a sudden it's like, wait a second, maybe I should go for the main. Chris Moneymaker, the 2003 World Series Main Event champion, Hall of Famer, goes and has a run that everyone was rooting for. Everybody was rooting for this guy. Day 3 runs, I mean, talk about aces into kings, hitting a set, cracking aces. I mean, it was unbelievable. And of course, it was always against another big stack. It wasn't just short stacks. And he had a great day 3, great first half of day 4. Unfortunately, after dinner on day 4, as well as it went, unfortunately, so it sometimes happens. That's how badly it went. And he got knocked out in 260th place, taking home 38,000. But boy, did we love it. I mean, everyone, and he was on the main table, and a lot of these hands happened on the main table. Come on, gotta love Moneymaker. You gotta love Chris. I would, we're setting up an interview literally right now for us to talk with him on my show, and I think he is probably the most frequent guest on my show, and so it's great to have another story with him. Not just about 2003. It was great. So the World Series main event obviously had to conclude, and boy, did it conclude in a great way. They didn't have a day off. They planned on having the day off, but because of this day E and F, they moved everything. They didn't move it 2 days. They just moved it 1. They killed the day off, and that's why they had this overlap of day 1F and day, 2A, B, and D. That's what it was, A, B, D. So the final table enters, no day off, right into it. Chad, what's your biggest memory of that final table?
Well, it was the way it started, I think, and that is the World Series of Poker and Caesars Entertainment enlisted a A-list star from Hollywood, a movie star, to come in and do the shuffle up and deal and also make some announcements. I'm talking, of course, about Vince Vaughn, the star of such hit movies as Old School and Wedding Crashers, The Breakup, Swingers, many, many more. He is a guy that I think is pretty universally loved, especially with a lot of, I will say, guys my age, right? Because he was starring in those comedy movies that we grew up with. And so he came, he did the shuffle up and deal, and it was real that he was going to be the master of ceremonies for the World Series of Poker in 2022. He also made the announcement that the WSOP would be moving down to the Strip to Bally's in Paris. And so it seems Caesars brought him on to kind of be the mouthpiece to bring some attention that the WSOP is moving, make a spectacle of it. And I want to note that this is a Caesars corporate initiative, not a World Series of Poker initiative. It was from the parent company, if you will. And that's very exciting in that, look, we haven't really seen Caesars put a lot of effort into the World Series of Poker, or do many initiatives or put money behind it. And here they are going out and getting Vince Vaughn. I think that speaks volumes. I'm excited to have him. I witnessed him playing and interacting with people for a day and a half. And I think he's going to be a great ambassador and good for poker, good for the World Series of Poker. And I'm excited about it.
Yeah, it definitely was interesting seeing him up there. We're all like, well, why, how did that happen? And so neat to see that. And it definitely did kick it off in a very interesting way. How about you, Robbie?
So, that's the kickoff of the final table. I have to just point to the end of the final table when it was heads up. You had the seasoned pro Koray Aldemir against, the David, I suppose, in the match, George home game Holmes. And like I'm a home game guy, so it's just the perfect, you can't script it better kind of a thing. And what I love though is like this guy had no fear. He was just slugging it out, unafraid to play big pots. And, even that final hand, what ended up being the final hand, if somehow George does hit a second pair or the board pairs or whatever it is, his king, queen will beat Aldemir's 10-7 that flopped the 2-pair. Aldemir's on fumes, and we get, probably George Holmes as the champion.
Right.
I mean, that's, you don't usually see that kind of a thing. Oh, look, and it's over. So it was just really cool. Everyone kind of dreams of that moment. I'll go toe to toe with a Negroni, with a Helmy, with like a seasoned pro, and to see that playing out. And again, just it was a slugging match of just back and forth. Everyone kind of expected Aldemir's going to run over the table.
Right.
He needed to catch the hand he did, I suppose, in a way. And he did outlast him. The skills did win out in the end. But that was just really, really cool heads-up match. And kudos to George Holmes. And I think, I'm not 100% sure, it was unconfirmed, but he went straight after, he cashed out his 4.6 million. He walked into Bobby's room and just started like, that's just so baller. So that was really cool.
Yeah, to me, it reminded me of Kata Moon. If you guys were there for that or remember that heads up, everyone thought when they started going heads up, it's a joke. Like, Joe's, Darvin's had a great run. I mean, fantastic. But let's be honest, Joe's going to win it. And Darvin just won hand after. I remember turning to my ESPN counterparts and said, he's going to win. He's going to win. I mean, it's going to be another moneymaker. This is incredible. And that's the way it really felt when I was watching it. It was just like every time Koray got a little head up, George would just go, boom, take him right back. And it was just that kind of thing. But to me, a couple of things to kick it off. One, Chase Bianchi, a beard that Santa would be proud of. Really good family guy. He's fostering 2 kids with his wife that are both under 18 months. Not one of them, 2 of them. And looking to adopt. If you haven't listened to it, listen to my interview with him on my radio show a couple of weeks ago. Great guy, really great guy, Massachusetts guy as well. So was rooting for him. The other one was that incredible hand that Jack Oliver had, 4-handed, went all in. Ramito went all in. Koray went all in. Koray has queens, Jack 9 versus Ace Jack versus queens. He is 1 card away from the World Series of Poker production team going crazy and pulling their hair out because they're like, oh my God, this is going to be heads up and this is horrible, to a miracle, I think it was 7 of diamonds on the river, to now suddenly make it triple up. And ultimately Jack Oliver moves on and basically wins almost another $700,000, I think it was, because of that card. But listen, the story is very clear that I remember is the most dominating performance that we have seen since Jamie Gold. He was basically the chip leader from day 5 on. Day 6, he was down to like 5th. When it was 20 players left, Koray was the chip leader all the way to heads up and just lost it briefly off and on heads up. It is the most unbelievable performance that I have seen. I was very fortunate to interview him. Stay tuned, subscribe and like here on YouTube, and obviously follow and go to Card Player Lifestyle. PokerNews.com, where my podcast is on, or iTunes. 2-week interview with this guy, and just a really nice guy, just a really, really nice guy. And he said it, you can hear it. I'm quoting him. I said I wasn't nervous, and I said I didn't feel like I had any pressure, but I was just saying that I was lying. I felt a lot of pressure. And, you know, it just shows you, like, it doesn't matter. He knew it. He knew he was expected to win. If he lost, the whole world would be like, how could you lose? And so he felt the pressure. And, you know, this is just one of those Germans, right? Fedor Holtz,
Heinz won.
We're blanking all their names, because we talked about all of his friends that were there, and it's just incredible what this group is. Stefan Sondheimer, right? They're incredible what these guys do, and obviously he brings home the trophy and $8 million. So great for him, and what a World Series. How about we wrap it up, guys? Anything else that you guys have from this World Series that really stood out? Robbie?
Yeah, actually, I pointed to it before about the extra cool things that we could see as fans. Like not all of I spent a month, combined in Las Vegas. Not all of us get the opportunity to do that. So our lens is Poker Goes, the PokerNews live reporting. And then one other cool thing that we just, now we can take for granted almost after a few years is Daniel Negreanu's video blog. And it's just fun. I think 50 straight days. It's just the most dependable. Of course, he's the one filming it, but he's got a team. I know he's got Christian Sanchez and then a whole team in Korea doing the editing. But like every single day, 15 to 30 minutes of first-person perspective of a poker Hall of Famer playing, 88 different events. It's just really fun. It's cool. He's got the elements, with the puppies, if you're into dogs. He's got Alan Kessler with the chainsaw corner. Like, you really see that first-person perspective of what it's like to play and compete, obviously in the huge high roller events, but also, with the regular folks. He'll jump into the Colossus. He'll jump into the 1500 8-game mix. It's pretty cool. I enjoyed it. And, when there's nothing else to follow on like a down day, whatever, you can catch up on a couple of them. So that was just really fun. And, if you haven't already, subscribed to Daniel's YouTube channel also.
Daniel's one of those guys. He really is what you see. And I've been very fortunate to get to know him over the years. Very good guy. And what's amazing is I'll bring a couple of people that they're just like, he's my favorite player. A lot of people, like, can you just wait till break? Like, I just wait till break. I'll spend some time. He's a complete opposite. He will, during his break, he's like, I need my 15, 20-minute break. I just need to cool down my head. Totally understandable, right? I mean, he's playing in some of the biggest games possible. But he'll literally, as a hand is going on, he'll fold and he'll run on over, talk to the player, engage with them, take pictures, scoot on over, come back. I mean, he's really one of a kind. He really, really is. And the vlog, like when you watch a vlog, like you said, he's not putting on a show, folks. He's really not. That's who he is. He's a really likable guy. I mean, he has his moments, don't get me wrong, like we all do, right? Slamming the chair down when he lost to Helmuth in the pot limit. I've done that. I'm going to say it many times. So like, he's human, right? He's human. So Chad, what about you? Anything, any final thoughts for the World Series?
Yeah, two real quick. Well, first, I also watch Negreanu's vlogs. Every single one of them, I make it a point. Number two, I want to say congratulations to Josh Aryeh in winning the Player of the Year. He just barely edged out Phil Hellmuth and the aforementioned Daniel Negreanu. It was well deserved, but I want to spend the last quick minute to really give some credit to Gershon Distenfeld. He had another great story at the WSOP. He won event number 48, which was the $1,500 no limit hold'em shootout for $204,000. And like he did after making the final table during last year's main event, the hybrid online live event, he donated it all to charity, all of that to various charities, including, he told me on day one during that event, he's like, anything, if I win anything, you can choose to donate 10% to whatever your charity of your choice. And he goes on to win it to 204,000. And so, PokerNews consulted amongst our team, donated, $20,000 to the charity series of poker, Matt Stout's,
Nice.
his events. So for him to just do that as a whole, to give me and PokerNews the opportunity to kind of share in that, I just think it's great. He's one of the nicest individuals I've ever met in poker. I think he's great for the game, and I hope to see a lot more of him.
Yeah, that's a great story. Didn't realize that. For me, to wrap it up, we had an incredible 2020. Obviously, everyone very challenging. It's still challenging as a new variant has just come out, and we're still all on pins and needles trying to figure out what that will mean for the world. Hossein Ensan ended up having the longest reign of any WSOP main event champion, right? Well over a year, almost a year and a half. I was joking with Hossein when we were talking about, we had a follow-up interview a year later. He said, yeah, if there's no main event, I'm going to be for 2 years. I mean, it's going to be pretty incredible. He'll be the champ. So he ended up being the longest reigning champ. Our current reigning champ, unfortunately, is probably going to have the shortest, right? So Karai Aldemir is going to only be the champ for about 5-6 months, which means, as we have talked about, we're moving over to Bally's and Paris. It's only 5-6 months away. It's incredible. It's right around the corner. As we talked about at the beginning of this podcast, we normally do a wrap-up at the end of this year, right around this time. This is not a wrap-up of the year. It's a wrap-up of the World Series, which means, again, Memorial Day weekend, the Wednesday afterward will be the casino employees event. I mean, that's what the schedule ends up being. About 6 weeks later, the main event, it'll go through mid-July, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, we'll have to go through it, but it's incredible. And we're going to be at Bally's Place. I'm very anxious to see what it's going to be like. And I think that there's a rumor that it's not going to be, they're going to rename it to the Horseshoe. That's what I heard. So it would be Horseshoe in Paris. I have very fond memories of Paris, and Bally's is the first casino I ever went to back in the 90s. So really cool that it's there. And Paris was a hotel that I went with very often. It was a casino that I enjoyed going. This is before the Arias and all those of the world. So I enjoyed Paris. So it'll be fun. I think it's a good spot. It's a very good spot. It'll be, you still can kind of get in and out of the strip pretty quickly from it because it's not right on. There is a side way for Bally's as well. And I'm curious to see where it'll be. I mean, when they say Bally's in Paris, Bally's in Paris, although they're next to each other and they broke a wall down, it'll be interesting to see, like, if you're in the convention area of Bally's, then to break through and go all the way over to Paris, that's not quick. You know what I mean? So it'll be curious to see how it all plays out. Day one's one place, day two's another. We'll see, but it'll be exciting. And we can't wait for the World Series to happen all over again. So, gentlemen, I really appreciate you spending the time once again. Hope you both have a wonderful holidays, and hold on to your hats, boys. We'll see each other real soon, I'm sure.
Thanks, Bernard. It's been a pleasure as always.
Well, we wrap up 2021 WSOP once again, and look forward to more content. But next week, we have the champ on, everybody. Karai Aldemir will be on. He'll be on for 2 weeks, talking about his career, and then, of course, talking about that unbelievable tournament all the way down to that final epic hand. So you don't want to miss that. Here on YouTube, subscribe and like and hit the notification so you will not miss those interviews. We'll also have Josh Aryeh in 2022, Chris Moneymaker, and several other bracelet winners. So the winning and the interviews don't stop with this one. And as always, may always go in with the best hand, and may never get unlucky. Good night, everybody.